Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as we cap off our weekend here at the final regular season dirt race, getting ready for the first of our two duels at DuQuoin. Race number 25, 25 and a half, and 25, I guess you call it. I don't know what you call it. But it's race number 25 with our two duel races combined here today at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. 30 laps of racing in each one of these duels. Now, if you didn't tune into yesterday's Truck Series race from here, let me break it down to you on how this event, or I should say events, are going to take place. Here today, we have two duels that will be taking place in which we will have two different race winners, and these wins will count towards actual legit race wins. We have 20 drivers here in this first field. We have 19 drivers in the second field. So basically the field's been split down the middle. The first half are in the first duel, the second half are in the second duel. Here in this race, though, the only points that really matter are going to be at the end of the race. There's no stage points that are going to be awarded here today. There's no splitting up these duels into 3 stages. There's no stage points awarded, and thus with no stage wins, there are no playoff points that are awarded, with the exception of one playoff point on the line that is guaranteed to the winner of Duel 1, and one playoff point guaranteed to the winner of Duel number 2. Also coming into play is the fact that in both of these fields, there are a number of drivers that are still looking for an opportunity with a win to get themselves into the chase for the championship. Now, there are 16 slots that are available in this season's playoffs in the postseason for the chase for the championship here in the Hersheys Cup Series. Coming into today's race, 10 of those spots are confirmed for drivers that will be battling here in the postseason with a chance at the championship. Those drivers include the following: Trent Dunham, Dallas McIntosh, Sean Gallighan, Chris Dodd. They've all got 2 wins. They're high enough in the points. They cannot fall outside the top 30 in the stands, regardless of what happens here today and what happens next week at M&M's. Also, the other 6 that have locked themselves in with wins this season include Cole Baker, Caleb Farrell, Daniel Guilbert, Charles Sandfer, K Shearer, and J Shelton. There are a couple of drivers that are question marks on the cusp that also could move their way into a confirmed spot depending on what happens today, including J Richardson, Benjamin Miles, and Dylan Young. We'll follow them during the course of this race. Then you've also got some drivers that are hoping that we have repeat winners today, like Keith Batson, Alex Drayton, Zachary Fitzwater, Dylan Poteet, Anthony McCrury. He's a driver that's just barely in the top 30 in points. He cannot fall out. We'll be covering all of these stories and more as we've gotten the command to fire them up. You can check down in the description to see what the starting lineups are of who's going to be in which one of these duels. You can clearly see on the front row for this one, the pole sitter is Trent Dunham, who comes in locked in with 2 wins. He's also the points leader coming into this race, so he is locked into the chase for the championship. So now he's starting out front here. He can go for broke, try and pick up a 3rd win this season, and have even more bonus points heading towards the reformatted playoff points, which will take place at the checkered flag of next week's M&M's Super Speedway regular season finale. But you look there, you see you got Benjamin Miles, Dylan Young up there on the outside of rows 1 and 2. We talked about both of them. Good run today. Even a win trip to victory lane, that would lock them up a spot, regardless of what happens next time out at M&M's. You see some drivers back here, like a question mark driver like J Richardson. You got Joshua Michaels, who's outside the top 30 in points. He's already got a win this season at a dirt track. That came at Eldora. We're at another dirt track. Could he pick up a 2nd win, move into the top 30 in the point standings? We've also got drivers up here near the front that haven't been to victory lane yet this season. You see L Alvarise there. Behind him, you had who was that? I couldn't even remember who that was. Nathan Hudson. There's J Baskinger back there, trying to make it 5 for 5 in making Hersheys Cup Series chases for the championship. B Allan up there in the 3. A lot of opportunity for drivers to get a win here today at DuQuoin and put themselves into the hunt for a slot in this season's chase for the championship. Time to go racing in duel number 1. Green flag is out here at DuQuoin. Let's roll. Already, J Shelton trying to take the top position away from Trent Dunham. Shelton locked into the chase, locked into the playoffs now. So is Trent Dunham. So both these drivers right now, what are they doing? They're battling for that bonus point, that 1 lap led bonus point. And the caution is out. Well, that didn't take long. We ran both duels for the Truck Series race here yesterday and only saw the caution flag wave once. And that was in the beginning stages of duel number 2. Didn't take long on lap number 1 for the caution flag to wave here in this one for the Hersheys Cup Series competition. See who was involved, and it was Nathan Hudson. Hudson and the 29. Got some damage there on the left side of the Reddit Chevrolet of J Arndt. L Alvarise also got a piece of whatever the incident was. And they're stacking up here. I don't know if any of these drivers got involved. Doesn't look like it. B Allan might have been in it. She was up near the front for the start of this race, and so was Charles Sandford. Nathan Hudson appears to have the most damage. Hood buckled up on his Monster Energy Chevy, and he's the only one that's coming to pit road. So as they make repairs, let's see what happened. It puts us under caution for the first time here today at DuQuoin. First time we've seen it tried all weekend. 5 wide down the back straightaway. That's Mathews, Richardson, Hudson, Alvarise, and Dylan Young up on the high side. Just no way that's going to work heading down into turn 3. The contact begins there between Nathan Hudson, L Alvarise, down into James Richardson and K Mathews. And then watch what happens right here as Hudson tries to move up to avoid L Alvarise. He's going to move up and crowd Cole Baker, who then crowds B Allan. And then L Alvarise slides back right up in front of Hudson, and watch the hit the 29 is going to take right here. This is kind of scary. Oh my goodness, up and into the air. J Arndt goes up in the air. Brandon Gonzales also got involved. I didn't know the 23 had gotten a piece of it. And you saw Charles Sandfer back there, but look at this. Hudson up and in the air completely. That air car left the racing surface for a moment. And that is a scary ride to take here at a dirt track. You wouldn't expect that to happen for a car to get that much air at a dirt track, but a lot of times there's not a whole lot of grip and not a lot of opportunity for the car to be able to stay planted onto the racing surface. So Nathan Hudson, this ain't rallycross. I know Monster Energy sponsors a lot of dirt bike and rallycross stuff. This ain't rallycross, but it certainly looked like it was a rallycross vehicle with Nathan Hudson getting some air here at DuQuoin. We should get the 1 to green signal this next time by, so we should be going green back on lap 6 of 30. And everybody that got involved in that incident either has continued on, didn't come to pit road, or in the case of Nathan Hudson, they brought his Chevrolet to pit road, got it repaired, and he's back out on track. So all 20 cars that took the green to start this race will take the green to continue on this race. Now, I mentioned coming into this race that 10 drivers are already locked into the chase for the championship. Now, if we looked at the live playoff points right now, the other drivers that would also be in there potentially, the other 6 drivers, Anthony McCrury would be 1. We can't confirm him in the chase yet because he's 28th in the points coming into this race. We'll give a better idea of what his playoff position looks like when we see him in the second duel race coming up here after this. So he would right now have 1 of the spots, and the other 5 spots would be held by James Richardson, Benjamin Miles, Dylan Young, Keith Batson, and Alex Drayton. Now, out of those drivers, we do have a few of them in this field right now. James Richardson, Miles, and Dylan Young. So we're going to have to keep an eye on them. Dylan Young, Benjamin Miles, right now running in the top 5 in 4th and 5th, and Richardson back in 10th. If they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, they need to be running where they are right now. The other thing they need is for the top position to look like it is right now. They need another driver that has already won this season, if not themselves, to go to victory lane. You've got Trent Dunham, J Shelton up here. Those are 2 drivers that those guys, Miles, Young, Richardson, would be okay with going to victory lane, because that would mean that's 1 less new driver they have to worry about that has a 1 in the win column. So if Trent wins, if Shelton wins, you've also got Cole Baker up there. If he goes to victory lane, those guys, they're safe because it's a driver that's already locked into the playoffs that's going to victory lane. But if you have somebody like Joshua Michaels who could move back into the top 30 in points with a 2nd win, somebody like J Baskinger, you've got Tim Walsh back there in 9th. Cody Smart, he's restarting 8th, but he's too far back in points. But there are drivers that could play spoiler for a number of these other drivers here in the field, as the green flag is indeed back out on lap number 6. And I mentioned the fact that Trent Dunham, J Shelton, they're going to be racing really aggressively here, and you're probably wondering, well, why would they do that? They're locked into the chase for the championship. That's exactly the point. They're locked into the chase. They can afford a wrecked race car. It's not going to affect them whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. All that matters to them now is getting that valuable stage points. That way when the points are reformatted, they can be up in the highest possible position when the green flag drops to begin the postseason. Trent Dunham, up to this season, had never had a 2-time winning season, and now trying to look for his 3rd win of the year. Right behind him, though, J Shelton has been on a major momentum streak, as we've documented. she's pretty good at racing dirt as well. Then behind them, you've got maybe, I think, one of the strongest cars to watch here in this field. Is he's going to lose third place right now to Cole Baker, but that's Joshua Michaels, because keep in mind, Joshua Michaels has 4 career wins here in Hersheys Cup Series competition, including this season. 3 of those 4 wins came at dirt tracks. Cole Baker moving by for the second position. Cole Baker, let's not forget, had a good run the last time we were at a dirt track. I want to say it was second place at Springfield. Nope, it was 8th. But I know he was run up inside the top 5 at one point. He was up there battling with Dylan Young, Dylan Poteet, Daniel Guilbert. Another thing that we should also document, a couple of drivers that we'll really be looking at when we get to the second duel. Drivers with a lot on the line include Dylan Poteet and Zachary Fitzwater. Both of them are inside the top 30 in points. Both drivers have gone to victory lane this season. But right now, according to the live playoff standings, with so many drivers up inside the top 30 in points that have gone to victory lane, those two are currently on the outside looking in. They would currently be positioned in playoff spots 17 and 18, and guess what? We don't have a 17 or 18. We've only got 16 slots. Those two, big opportunity for them here is Cole Baker drove it really low there through 3 and 4, and he's going to get to the inside of Jessica Shelton for the second position. For a moment, I thought Baker was actually coming to pit road. He ran those corners so low. And he will clear? Question mark? I guess he'll clear into this corner. I thought he had Shelton cleared off of 2, but not quite, and now slides it into the corner, and he will take the second position. So now Cole Baker, who also, like Trent Dunham coming into this season, never had a repeat win season. He's got 1 win this season, looking for his second of the year, which would be only his 3rd career win in Hersheys Cup Series competition. And it's really been a battle the last couple of weeks between himself and Trent Dunham for who's going to be the points leader in the overall standings. Trent Dunham comes into this race 23 points ahead of Cole Baker. Baker, obviously, I don't think will be able to take the points lead back from Trent today, but obviously would like to join Trent Dunham, Dallas McIntosh, teammates Sean Gallighan, Anthony McCrury, as well as Chris Dodd as a 2-time winner this year, and as thus get himself more points towards the playoffs. Drop back a little bit further here. We mentioned about Cole Baker having a good run the last time we were at a dirt track. Well, Daniel Guilbert finished 3rd place at Springfield, and he has now cracked the top 10. Trying to run down Tim Walsh for 8th. Gilbert locked into the chase for the championship, even though he's not battling for Rookie of the Year honors. It's his first full-time season in a Hersheys Cup Series charter system, and definitely I'd say he's made the most of it. Now the only driver out of the Michael Norman Motorsports stables that will officially be battling for the championship. Drop a little bit further back and you get to a driver that won the last time we were at a dirt track at Springfield, Dylan Young. Mentioned how he came into this race 18th in points, needs a good run to solidify himself a spot in the chase for the championship, and also technically needs a repeat winner here in this run, as in this duel, as well as in the upcoming duel number 2. Just lost the 10th position right there to Brooke Allen, so he needs to go the opposite direction of where he's going right now, which is backwards. Side by side, Benjamin Miles getting a challenge from Tim Walsh. Walsh going to get to the left rear quarter panel, but not going to be able to get alongside down the front straightaway. Miles came into this race 17th in the point standings. So having a good run as he's currently inside the top 10. Needs to pick up a few more spots though here. That way he can have a really good chance heading into next week at M&M's. Now you're probably wondering, you know, Miles running 17th, Dylan Young running 18th. Why is Trent Dunham going to take the race lead back here from Cole Baker? Good battle here amongst these two Chevrolets. But you're probably wondering, now why would Benjamin Miles and Dylan Young not be locked into the chase for the championship? I mean, there's only 2 races remaining. This one, as well as the upcoming M&M Super Speedway regular season finale. Why would they not be locked in? The reason being, we have 2 races in 1 here this weekend, so we technically have to figure 3 total races still left in the regular season. With that being said, there still is a mathematical possibility for Benjamin Miles and Dylan Young to either fall outside of the top 30 in the point standings and or drivers higher than them in the point standings to go to victory lane and kind of leapfrog them into one of the playoff positions. So we cannot eliminate that possibility, and that is why coming into this race, they still are not yet confirmed in the chase for the championship. Now, will they be confirmed in the chase for the championship if they continue on the runs they're having here today, heading into M&M's? More than likely, yes. And while I'm going through giving you guys these playoff scenarios, which are really important because, you know, a lot of times you look at the point standings, you think, oh yeah, there's no way that this person's going to fall outside of the top 30 points. There's no way this guy's going to miss the chase for the championship. And then you get to the checkered flag in the regular season finale, you're like, wait a minute, why is this person not making the chase? So, you know, we got to take all these possibilities and mutter them through, calculate them in your head, and realize, you know, there are some drivers, there is no way they're going to miss out in the playoffs, but there are some drivers that the impossible can happen. Up front here, though, the driver that's had the best seat in the house has been J Shelton, because Cole Baker and Trent Dunham, they have been putting on quite a show here for the fans. This is the most lead changes I've seen all weekend as the caution flag is out with 10 laps to go. Second time today that the yellow flag waves, and we will be getting a restart with less than 10 laps remaining in this race. And it appears that it is Dallas McIntosh who could have very well brought out this yellow. Dylan Young has got damage as well in the 2. Like I said, never take anything for granted. Dylan Young was one of those bubble drivers, those uncertain drivers of whether he was going to make the playoffs or not. Needed a good run today to confirm himself a spot in the playoffs heading into M&M's, and now looks like he, maybe along with Dallas McIntosh, has brought out our most recent yellow flag. Let's see what happened. Well, we saw Dylan Young was going the wrong way, and boy, this is his teammate to the inside, J Bryant in the 22. And it looks like JT just gets into Dylan Young's left rear quarter panel. Boy, it's bad enough you end up getting dumped. It's even worse when it's your teammate. J Bryant, who battled for the championship last season, comes into this race currently situated 33rd in the point standings, outside the top 30 in points, and at that time was outside the top 10. No, he was going to win the race. Why he raced his teammate, who does have a shot of making his first chase for the championship, that hard, I'm not certain, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall of Young Motorsports team meeting tomorrow and hear what Dylan Young has to say about that one. That's what brought out the caution, though, for the second time here tonight, or today I should say, rather, at DuQuoin, and it sets us up for what should be a doozy of a finish in duel number 1. Well, however big an impact that was for Dylan Young into the inside wall, it was not enough to draw him to pit road, so he'll restart in the 18th position, ahead of Nathan Hudson and Dallas McIntosh. Cole Baker will get us back underway. He's looking for his second win of the season. Trent Dunham's looking for his third. Shelton's looking for her second. Cody Smart's just looking to have a win this year, as he's had a very dismal season. And then behind him, Joshua Michaels. We know his reputation at dirt tracks, and he really could use a trip to victory lane here to get him back into the top 30 in the point stands and have himself a shot at making the chase for the championship. Right now, Dylan Young, Benjamin Miles, they are rooting for anybody in the top 3 to go to victory lane. All 3 drivers, Baker, Dunham, Shelton, locked into the playoffs for this season, and they want to now just get that valuable stage point with a trip to victory lane here today. It'll be 7 laps to go as we get ready to go back green here in duel number 1. Green flag back in the air. Baker and Dunham had a lot of back and forth battling going on in the last 10 laps or so before that caution came out. Let's see if they resume that battle, or will we see somebody else jump up into the forefront? One driver you might want to keep an eye on back there. I just saw him making a move. It's the 5 of J Baskinger. This may be his biggest opportunity to try and get into his 5th straight chase for the championship. Saw him battling for 4th place with Cody Smart. Now back in 5th. Now he's going to try and make the move on the 12 once again. Meanwhile, Joshua Michaels fading back. He's battling now for 6th place with the 15 of Tim Walch. Baskinger going to try and clear. Cody Smart can't do it, still alongside of him for the 4th position, as up front, Trent Dunham stalking Cole Baker to try and take that top position back. They'll hit the line with 5 laps to go. J Baskinger is a former winner at a dirt track, winning back, I believe it was in Season 3 at Bristol Dirt, so he knows how to get around these types of racetracks, but it may be too little too late. May not be enough time for him to be able to get up there, as he still apparently is having his hands full getting by the rookie Cody Smart in the 12. Meanwhile, Cole Baker opening the distance a bit between himself and Trent Dunham. So Trent Dunham may have used up everything he had on that last run and may not have enough left in the tank to try and challenge Baker. Drives it deep there though through 3 and 4, trying to close the gap up once again. Sean Gallighan has been to victory lane twice this season. McCrury has been to victory lane twice this season. Cole Baker trying to make it the hat trick with 6 wins this season for the Seth Cole Baker Motorsports Chevrolet team, and put all Seth Cole Baker Motorsports drivers at 2 wins apiece here in Season 5. Trent Dunham has 2 wins this year, his teammate Dallas McIntosh with 2, so Trent Dunham trying to bring the Sega Motorsports win total for Season 5 up to 5. He's closing the gap, and the laps are ticking away. 3 laps to go here at DuQuoin. Jessica Shelton still looming there in 3rd place, waiting to see what might culminate from this. You look at Joshua Michaels back there, currently in the 7th position. I mean, it might be enough to get him to the top 30 in the points standings, but there's still a number of drivers ahead of him with wins, like Poteet and Fitzwater, Batson, Drayton. There's no way he's going to pass them in the points after this race. As there's 2 to go, Trent Dunham was closing the gap between himself and Cole Baker, but now seems to be losing some touch. Mentioned Baker, the last time out of the dirt track, finished in the 7th position at Springfield. Trying to bring it home in P1 here today. Go back a little bit further to Eldora, the 2nd dirt track race of the season. Baker finished in 2nd. So Baker knows how to win at these dirt tracks, and he is showing it off right now. As Cole Baker down through turn number 2, Trent Dunham's not even close enough to be able to dive bomb 3 and 4. And Cole Baker, a very valuable playoff point, looks like it will be heading his way when the postseason begins. Out of 4 for the final time. Duel number 1 at DuQuoin is going to go to Cole Baker, his 2nd win of the season, 3rd win of his Hersheys Cup Series career. Coming into this race, Cole Baker had a total of 3 stage points as far as the playoff points. And now he will be up to 4, which ties him for 2nd most, with K Tellier, Chris Dodd, Dylan Poteet, Trent Dunham, Dallas McIntosh, and Anthony McCrury. Keith Batson leads all active drivers this season with a total of 5 playoff points. And that right there could be a huge sigh of relief breathed by Benjamin Miles and Dylan Young, with the fact that a repeat winner went to victory lane and not another first-time winner this season, but only time will tell. Trent Dunham going to have to settle for 2nd place. I don't think Trent fell outside the top 2 all day long. Started on the pole, and I think the furthest he fell back was 2nd place. I don't think he fell back to 3rd all day long. Shelton's going to bring it home in 3rd. She already was locked into the playoffs, but definitely momentum's a thing you need heading into the postseason, and great run for her there. Rookie of this duel was Cody Smart. He was actually the only rookie that took part in this duel, and he finishes with the top 5. And J Baskinger, boy, it's just getting down to crunch time. He's going to have to win at M&M's in order to make it into the playoffs. And even then, I'm not certain he's going to be able to do it, because he was 19th in points coming to this race behind drivers like Miles and Young and Richardson. We're going to have to wait and see next week, as Tim Walsh brings it home 6th. Joshua Michaels 7th. This may move him back into the top 30 in the points, but again, it's not going to get him past drivers like Fitzwater and Poteet, who also have a win. And, you know, he's still going to be on the outside looking in when we get to M&M's, even despite possibly getting back into the top 30 in points with his win at Eldora counting towards a spot. Daniel Gilbert's going to get 8th. Brooke Allen finishes 9th. And Kyle Mathews, former champion, will finish in the top 10. He's another driver next week that's going to have to win if he's going to try and become a two-time Hersheys Cup Series champion. You look on down through the remainder of the finishing results. Benjamin Miles brought it home in 12th. Have to see if that holds up. Richardson there in 13th. We'll have to see if that holds up for him. Charles Sandfer, he already came into this race locked into the playoffs. Not the best of runs here. Got 16th place. And Dylan Young, we saw him get involved in that incident that brought out our second caution in this duel. 18th place. Yeah, we're going to have to see how what this does with him. If he's going to fall a number of spots in the point standings, this could be a big opportunity for drivers like Fitzwater and Poteet to capitalize on the problem that Dylan Young had today in our upcoming second duel. So without further ado, as you see the full finish results from this one, Baker takes the win in Duel 1. We're heading now to Duel 2 to see what the playoff scenario is going to look like over there compared to the finishing results of this first duel. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. So as we prepare for Duel number 2, who we got up here near the front? K Tellier, K Llamas, Quentin Moore, Lane Keys, Levi McIntosh. That's your top 5. They're all looking for their first win of the season. Boy, this is going to get hairy here in the second duel, playing off all the stuff that just went on in our first duel race. You know, there's a number of drivers that could go to victory lane here that could play spoiler and maybe lock themselves in a spot in the playoffs. Drivers like Blaine Keys, Emmanuel Hartnett, K Tellier, Brooke Allen didn't have the opportunity. She didn't win. Neither did J Baskinger, so they're out of a shot here, at least in this race. But G Sydnor, he could do something here today. Quentin Moore, James McLeod. And, of course, we're going to have to keep our eyes on Zachary Fitzwater and Dylan Poteet to see if the poor performance today by Dylan Young is going to come back to cost him and have him exchange one of the current playoff positions with one of those two drivers. We're also going to have to keep tabs on Anthony McCrury, see if his 2 wins will hold up. He's got to stay in the top 30 in the point stands, and coming into this race, he was a total of 14 points ahead of the 30th in the standings cut line. Green flag back in the air here at DuQuoin as we get set for duel number 2. Let's roll. Some drivers, McCurry's going to have to try and finish better than today. Matt Haas has won. He was 29th in points coming to this race. L Alvarise didn't have the best of runs in the first duel, and he was the driver that came in 30th in the standings. So McCurry's got a couple of drivers, one in this duel and one in the first duel, to try and better to keep his hopes alive of making it into the playoffs. His teammate Cole Baker went to victory in the first duel. Wonder if he was able to give McCrury any advice. Llamas trying to battle side by side here with K Tellier. Now Cody coming into this race, it is mathematically impossible for him to work his way back into the top 30 in the point standings. He's almost 100 points out, but obviously would like a trip to victory lane. However, you think about it from a playoff perspective for those drivers that are looking for repeat winners to go to victory lane here in this race as well as next week at M&M's. Well, Cody Llamas would kind of fit that bill in the fact that his win wouldn't really shake up anything playoffs-wise. So I think drivers like Benjamin Miles, his teammate, wouldn't mind seeing Cody Llamas take the victory in this one. A threat to Benjamin Miles is running right there in second place in the form of K Tellier. Same for Quentin Moore and Blaine Keys in second and third. So Benjamin Miles probably right now the biggest cheerleader of that 48, hoping that he holds them off. There is Dylan Poteet, who finished second the last time we ran a dirt track at DuQuoin to Dylan Young, or not at DuQuoin, rather, at Springfield. Running right now in that 5th position. Dylan Poteet needs a good run in this one here today. As mentioned, he came into this race outside of the playoff grid. 26th in the point standings. The driver that he needs to basically try and move his way past would have been either Dylan Young or Keith Batson. Well, Batson's running right behind him in the 39, so I don't think that's going to be much of an opportunity for him just yet. But Dylan Young's slip-up of finishing 18th today could come back to cost him. So Dylan Young and Keith Batson both trying to capitalize with good runs here today. Both of them would obviously also like to visit victory lane for the second time this season. For Batson, second time in his career. Blaine Keys, 7 points, continue to haunt him. He lost the championship last season to Matt Haas by 7 points at Auto Club. Keys was a late entry into the playoffs when he won coming up to 1 year ago in the regular season finale at M&M Super Speedway. I don't think he wants to have to put himself in that kind of a scenario again. If Blaine Keys went to victory lane today, that would solidify himself a spot in the point standings chase for the championship. Why? Because coming into this race, he is currently 10th in the point standings. And a win would put him high enough that he wouldn't be able to fall outside the top 30 in the points heading into M&M's. K Llamas going to have some company. Dylan Poteet closing the gap as he's moved up to second. K Tellier now back to third with teammate Keith Batson there in fourth. So now K Llamas trying to hold Dylan Poteet off. Poteet was a 3-time winner last season, had the most wins of any driver last year. This season ended up getting his only win of the year on a fuel strategy race at Phoenix. And now looking for his second win of the season, and this would help leapfrog him over drivers like Fitzwater, Batson, Young, Miles, Richardson, with a 2 in the win column. Let's see how much of a fight K Llamas is going to be able to put up as Dylan Poteet now is on his back bumper. Another driver, much in the same scenario as we have some contact right there between Poteet and Llamas, and Poteet's going to get to the inside. I mentioned that if Blanky's won, he would automatically be in the playoffs. Well, another driver that also would fit that bill would be Emmanuel Hartnett, 11th in the points coming into this race. And he has now cracked the top 10 in that 10th position, just behind Anthony McCrury. Llamas wanting the race lead back. I don't know if he made contact with Poteet rattling his cage down there into one or not. Not going to be able to get to him this time. Battle is side by side for third, J Sydnor. Now there is a driver, if he went to victory lane, that would certainly shake it up a bit. One career win here in the Hersheys Cup Series. That came last season at Bristol Dirt. He knows how to get around dirt tracks. Now Sydnor coming into this race was ahead of Poteet, was ahead of Fitzwater, and actually was ahead of Keith Batson as well. And he also, this is more important, was only 10 points back behind Dylan Young coming into this race. So if J Sydnor were to go to victory lane here today, he would leapfrog over Dylan Young and more than likely put himself in one of the playoff positions. So big opportunity here for the team of AS Racing, who right now has none of their drivers in the playoffs currently. And this is a team that last season had all 3 of their drivers in the playoffs, Baskinger, Arndt, and Sydnor. Trying to get to the inside of Poteet. He's to the left rear quarter panel, doesn't quite get the run off the corner that he wanted. He'll have to try again down here into 3. Batson right there, and here comes Caleb Farrell, who's got a lot of momentum on his side. Went to victory lane last time out when we were at Hillside. Caleb Farrell with that win locked himself up a spot in the chase for the championship. So right now, himself and K Shearer are the 2 confirmed drivers that are rookies that will battle for the title this season. We've never had a rookie win the championship, and we're not counting season 1 because there were no rookies then. And Sydnor has taken the lead from Dylan Poteet. J Sydnor coming into this race has 3 top 5s and 7 top 10s. He, as we mentioned, has 1 career win back at Bristol Dirt back in season 4, but if he closes the deal here today, this could be the most important win of his career and the most important race of his career. Sounds like we might have some traffic up ahead these leaders will have to deal with. Matt Haas, boy. I think Matt Haas is just hoping this season goes away. Defending champion. He's been able to work his way back up into the top 30 in the points. He's up to 29th in the standings, even though he didn't have a good run last week at Hillside. Now finds himself at the very tail end of the field here in this one. Sydnor opening the distance between himself and Poteet. Battle is on for third. Batson trying to hold off Caleb Farrell, does for the moment. Farrell hangs there in 4th place. K Llamas, who was out in front leading moments ago, has now slipped back to 5th. Lane Keys battling it out with Anthony McCrury. Good run right now for the 61, a well-needed run. For Anthony McCrury, what he's got to do is he's got to have himself at least, I think it's 40 points ahead of the cut line heading into next week, and then try and come away with at least a top 20 finish in M&M Super Speedway, and then he would be locked into the chase for the championship. There's Keys and there's Hartnett, drivers who have had very consistent years, but both still plagued from finding victory lane. Both competed in the playoffs last season. Mentioned Keys made it to the final 4. And now K Shearer starting to break his way up here into the top 10. up in 9th, and now hounding Emmanuel Hartnett for the 8th position. Mentioned Kev Shearer, currently locked into the playoffs. Came into this race 7th in points, cannot mathematically fall outside the top 30 in the point standings, and cannot fall far enough to be out of one of the 16 playoff positions. So quite a rookie year for him as well. And they're going to go 3 wide now, what will be for the 7th position. He's slipping up a little bit there. Emmanuel Hartnett had to check up a bit, and now that allows Kev Shearer to the inside to battle for the 8th position. Move back up to the front. Now the battle is still on for 3rd place. Garrett Sydnor's been able to keep the distance between himself and Dylan Poteet. Meanwhile, behind Poteet, this battle's been going on for the last 10 or so laps. Actually, maybe not that many, maybe the last 7 or so laps between Caleb Farrell and Keith Batson. Looks like Farrell will finally win out on this one. Or will he? Batson battling back again on the top side. And they will be door-to-door going down to turn 1 again. Wow, right down there at the bottom of the racetrack goes Caleb Farrell. Poteet went way up near the wall. That's going to cost him and Keith Batson, as now Farrell's going to try and kill 2 birds with 1 stone and move from 4th to 2nd. So he might very well do that as he uses the low line again through 3 and 4, tries to slide up in front of Poteet and will do so. Mentioned as far as drivers wanting repeat winners to go to victory lane to keep their playoff hopes alive. Well, I think right now everybody's rooting for Caleb Farrell that's in that situation, because Garrett Sydnor, as I said, if he goes to victory lane, that shakes up the playoff points quite a bit heading into next week's race at M&M's. We saw J Baskinger, J Arndt in the first duel. J Arndt got involved in a wreck. Baskinger managed to finish in top 5, but that wasn't enough to get him to victory lane. Sydnor right now appears to be the last-ditch hope for AS Racing of having one of their drivers battle for the championship. And if I recall, Garrett Sydnor was one of the earlier drivers for AS Racing that made the playoffs that got eliminated. I have to look to be sure, but I'm pretty certain that Sydnor got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah, he did. He actually finished 16th of the 16 playoff drivers overall that season. J Arndt was eliminated in round 2, and Baskinger was eliminated just barely in round 3. None of them made it to the final 4. Caleb Farrell closing the gap in that 95 car, though, trying to go for back-to-back wins. Now, we've already had 3 different rookies go to victory lane this season. Shearer at Dover, Drayton at Las Vegas, and Farrell last week at Hillside. We've not yet had a rookie go to victory lane twice this season. He wouldn't be the first driver to have a repeat win season. Matt Haas already did that back in season 3. But Caleb Farrell trying to become the second, and boy, he has closed that distance up quite a bit. I think we can safely say who's got the better long run car in this race. Look at how quickly he closed the gap up there through turn 3. Now Garrett Sydnor, his playoff hopes could be resting on whether or not he can hold off Caleb Farrell in the 95. Rookie stripes don't mean a thing when you're at a dirt track. I consider dirt tracks almost like super speedways. Everybody has a chance if you've got a good car. Everyone's on a level playing field. That time by, Sydnor kind of held Farrell off. I don't know if he took away Caleb Farrell's racing line and Caleb Farrell had to readjust and it didn't agree with his race car or what. But now the gap is opened up to about maybe a car length and a half, when before at this point, Farrell was right on Sydnor's back bumper. Another thing that is also playing into the favor of Garrett Sydnor are the laps. They are ticking away and there will be 6 to go when they hit the line next time by. Probably be the longest 6 laps of Garrett Sydnor's life, as he's got MetLife looming large in his rearview mirror. This battle going on over a full second. Back to Dylan Poteet, so it looks like it'll be these 2 to settle it out. Will it be a repeat winner or a first-time winner this season? How will the playoffs grid look like heading into M&M's? With McCrury running 6th, that's keeping his playoff hopes alive. Same for Keith Batson. Dylan Poteet in 3rd may have just sparked his playoff hopes again and may capitalize on the hardship we saw by Dylan Young in the first dual race. A couple of other drivers that we haven't talked about that we really should. How about Zachary Fitzwater? Where is he? He's back in 14th place. That's not where he needs to be. That's not going to help him at all. And Alex Drayton is right now in 11th. And Drayton was another of those question mark drivers coming into this race. He was running 22nd in points behind Keith Batson, so he could very easily get leapfrogged by Dylan Poteet. And then if Sydnor wins, that could put that Alex Drayton outside of the playoff picture. See, how far back was he from Dylan Young coming into this race? 12 points. And Dylan Young finished in 18th, so Drayton would have to finish about 6th place, 5th place in order to bypass Dylan Young in the point stands, and that's not where he is. He's outside the top 10 in points. So Dylan Young could still be barely in the playoffs by the skin of his teeth heading into next week's M&M's race. Alex Drayton, if Garrett Sydnor closes the deal here, he could be the driver that falls outside of the Sweet 16. But it ain't over yet. Farrell closes the gap once again as we have 3 laps to go here at DuQuoin. Can Sydnor hold off the charge again? Farrell goes low. Sydnor tries to block. Farrell can't get there, not this time. And now Sydnor going to drive low, try and take away the inside line from Farrell. Farrell drives it deep, almost gets into the back of Sydnor. Had to lift a little bit there, and that kills his momentum out of turn 4. But right on the back bumper of Garrett Sydnor's Caleb Farrell, 2 laps to go. Look at Sydnor drive it down low, trying to block Caleb Farrell from getting to the inside of him, then slips it up the corner. Farrell appears to get a little bit tight then off the corner. That allows Sydnor to hang on to the top spot for the moment. Question is, though, will Sydnor make a slip up? And if he does, is Farrell going to be there to capitalize? Farrell let off a little bit there into the entry of the corner to drive it in deep. He gets to the left rear quarter panel, a little contact between the two. He can't get alongside yet. White flag displayed. 3 more attempts for Caleb Farrell. 3 more tries of defense for Garrett Sydnor. Farrell tries to get the left rear quarter panel. Not there this time. He'll try down into turn 3. If Sydnor wins, he could be in the playoffs. If Farrell wins, that's going to really help out a lot of drivers that have a win this season. Here we go into 3 and 4. Farrell looks low. He gets to the left rear quarter panel. Can't get inside. Garrett Sydnor may have just blown the entire playoffs grid out of proportion. Picks up the win here today at DuQuoin in duel number 2. And with that, did Garrett Sydnor just lock himself up a spot in this season's Hersheys Cup Series Season 5 chase for the championship? We're going to have to wait and see. Wow, 2nd career win and maybe the most important win of his career. Not quite waiting as late as a Blaine Keys last season at M&M's, but certainly cutting it close. Garrett Sydnor picks up the win here today. And now the guy who could find himself on a bed of hot coals could be the rookie Alex Drayton heading to next week's race at M&M's. Caleb Farrell trying to pick up his 2nd straight win of the season. Couldn't do it. He was close, but he couldn't close the deal. He'll have to settle for 2nd. Batson's going to finish 3rd. Is that enough to lock him up a spot in the chase for the championship next week? It might be. Dylan Poteet, is this enough for him to be locked into the playoffs? We'll have to see. He gets 4th. Cody Llamas brings it on 5th. Shearer 6th. Did McCrury 7th place lock him up a spot in the playoffs? We'll have to wait and see. Keys and Hartnett, their consistent seasons continue, but still that goose egg in the win column not helping their playoff hopes. They get 8th and 9th, and Chris Dodd brings it home in 10th. Alex Drayton, in order to get himself out of the danger zone, had to finish in the top 5. He didn't. He finished 11th. We'll have to see where this situates him. Zachary Fitzwater, he was on the outside of the playoffs grid coming into this race, and he didn't capitalize, gets a 14th place finish. So his championship hopes could be over depending on what happens next week. And you look on down through the remainder, of the finishing results there. Sean Gallighan already locked into the playoffs, gets 15th. You got Gardner, McLeod. We talked about them being a couple of drivers that, with a win, could very well have put themselves up into the playoffs position. Not going to be the case now. Same for McIntyre and Matt Haas. The chances for him defending his title looking bleaker and bleaker. I think that may have just iced it. We will not have a back-to-back champion here in the Hersheys Cup Series. I don't see Matt Haas being able to make it into the playoff grid, even with a win next week at M&M Superspeedway. But the question is, who right now would be the 16 playoff drivers? At this current point in time, more than likely, the top 13 drivers that are highlighted in yellow will more than likely be drivers that will be locked into the playoffs grid next week at M&M Superspeedway before the green flag even flies. We may have 1, 2, even 3 drivers in the playoff hunt. Also throw in the possibility of another first-time winner next week. So it ain't over yet. We don't have our complete 16 drivers, but I think there are a number of drivers that we can definitely say are going to be in the hunt for the championship, regardless of what happens next week at M&M's. Is G Sydnor one of them? We'll have to wait and see. But Cole Baker becomes a 2-time winner this season with a win in Duel 1. G Sydnor may have just very well put himself in a playoff position with a win here in Duel number 2. And it's time now, after showing your full finish results, to show you your rookie points and your overall points heading to next week's race at M&M's Superspeedway. For the Tax Lawyer Truck Series, we determined the Elite 8. For the Pizza Hut X Series, we determined the top 12. And for the Hersheys Cup Series, we determined the Sweet 16. Who will be battling in those grids for the championship? That'll all be decided next week at M&M Superspeedway for the regular season finale for all 3 series. Till then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching Production NCRA Offline Race as Best. So long from DuQuoin. We'll see you next week as the playoffs are about to be put together.